You've recently said in relation to what's unfolding in Israel that the proposed and much hyped two-state solution looks absurd. Can you elaborate?
Well, in several ways, but the immediate way is this. What a two-state solution means is that Israel completely cedes sovereignty over the area, actually, of the West Bank and a large part of Jerusalem. And that would become a sovereign state next to Israel. Now, just imagine if that sovereign state, having been established, elected a Hamas government. And there was nothing between Israel, indeed the very heart of Israel and its capital, except a fence or maybe a wall. And what we have seen on October the 7th would, I think, make that completely unsustainable as a long-term arrangement. My second reason, I've never accepted a two-state solution as being likely or possible. I don't think that there is, first of all, I don't think there's any will among the Arab leadership in the region to have a permanent settlement. I think there is a strong, deep, not necessarily publicly stated belief that Israel should not continue to exist, and such a state wouldn't have its own existence as its own end. And I also think that if you really want any kind of semblance of peace in the region, it has to be informal. If you attempt to have a detailed diplomatic solution, you'll never get there. The Israelis will never be prepared to concede enough, and the Arab side will never be prepared to put their name to such a thing. And also there was a very interesting point made by Yasser Arafat when he was still among us. He said, "I don't want to be mayor of Jericho." As leader of the great world Palestinian movement, he was an international figure. As leader of a small, poor country in the Middle East without very much in the way of resources or armed forces, he would be a very minor figure. And you can see why that wouldn't appeal. I don't think it's workable, but on the other hand, I think there's a great deal of willingness to live and work together among the people of the region, which is often demonstrated when they're given the chance to do so. But I would steer miles away from trying to formalize it. And I'm always haunted by a conversation I had with an Arab-Israeli colleague from that very interesting group of people, the Arab-Israelis, who are among the most thoughtful in the world for obvious reasons, as to who and where they are. And we were driving up through the north end of Israeli Jerusalem, trying to get into Ramallah in the Palestinian Authority area, which has now become quite a maze, and he knew the way. But as we wound round all these side roads and dodged roadblocks, he said, "Oh, for the good old days before we had peace." In the years before attempts were made to make a formal peace between Israel and the inhabitants of the West Bank and Gaza, there was actually much more contact between the two sides. Many Arabs went and worked in Israel, brought back good wages, stimulated the economy. Personal relations between the two were much greater. Travel between the two was much greater. Almost unbelievably, there was a time when people from southern Israel used to go to Gaza for the nightlife. And in fact, the efforts to secure a formal peace have made all that much worse. So I steer away from them. I think if there is hope, then it will come in an informal agreement to live side by side.